house on East 88th Street. This is the house on East 88th Street. It's empty now, but it won't be so long. Strange sounds come from the house. Can you hear them? Listen. Swish, splash, splash, swash. It began one sunny morning when the citywide storage and moving company truck pulled up to the house on East 88th Street and unhoarded the belongings of Mr. and Mrs. Joseph F. Prim and their young son Joshua. It was a trying day for everyone. Mrs. Prim just couldn't decide where to put the piano, and Mr. Plim's favorite pipe was accidentally packed away in one of dozens of cartons lying about. Swish, swash, splash, swash. Loudly and clearly the sounds now rumbled through the house. It's only a little thunder, Mrs. Prim orders everyone. When a city-sized storage and moving men carried in their pot pistachio tree, everyone rejoiced. The truck was at last empty. The movers wished them well and hurried up to their next job for the day. Now I'm going to prepare our lunch, announced Mrs. Prim. But first I want to go upstairs and wash these grimy hands. Swish, swash, splash, swish. A puzzled Mrs. Prim stopped to listen. By and by her ears directed her to the bedroom door. What can it be? She asked herself as she opened the door. What she saw made her slam quickly shut. Mrs. Prim knew she was going to scream and just waited for it to happen, but she couldn't scream. She could certainly even talk. The most Mrs. Prim was able to manage was the sharp, hoarse whisper of a voice which she used to call Mr. Prim. "Joshua," she said, "there's a crocodile in a bathtub." Mr. Prim looked into the bedroom. The next moment found them flying off in different directions. "Help! Help!" Mrs. Prim cried out as she struggled with a window stuck with fresh paint. "Operator! Operator!" Mr. Prim shouted into the telephone, and then he remembered that it was not yet connected. Joshua, who had heard everything, raced to the front door to be greeted by an early dress who handed him a note. "This will explain everything about the crocodile," said the man, leaping quickly but swiftly. Mr. Prim read the note. "Please be kind to my crocodile. He is the most gentle of creatures and would not harm to a flea. He must have tender, loving care, for he is an artist and can perform many good tricks. Perhaps he will perform some of you. I shall return. Cordially, Hector P. Valenti, star of stage and screen. P.S. He will eat only Turkish caviar. P.P.S. His name is Lil." "Turkish caviar indeed!" exclaimed Mrs. Prim. "Oh, to think this could happen on East 88th Street! Whatever we do with him?" Suddenly, before anyone could think of a worthy answer, there was Lyle. And just as suddenly he got hold of a ball that had been lying among Josiah's belongings and began to balance it on his nose, and rolled down the notice of his spine. Now he was walking on his front feet and taking flying leaps. Now he was twirling Josiah's hoop, doing it so expertly that the Prims had to clap their hands and laugh, liable appreciatively. He had won his way into their hearts and into their new home. Every home should have a crocodile, said Mrs. Prim one day. Lyle is one of the family now. He loves helping out with the chores. He won't allow anyone else to carry out old newspapers or take in the milk. He folds towels, feeds the bird, and when he sets the table, there is always a surprise. I had only to show him once how to make a bed. People everywhere stop to talk with him. They say he is the nicest crocodile they ever met. Lyle likes to play in the park. He always goes once around the pony cart. And he has learned to eat something besides Turkish caviar. Lyle is a good sport. Everyone wants to play on his side. He is wonderful company. We take him everywhere. Just give him his Turkish caviar and his bath of warm water, and he is happy as a bird. One day a brass band paraded past the house on East 88th Street. The Prim family rushed to the window to watch. They called for Lyle, but there was no answer. "Look!" someone pointed out. "It's Lyle! He's in the parade!" There was Lyle doing his peculiarly somersault, flying leaps, walking on front feet, and taking bows just as he did the first day they laid eyes on him. People watching cheery mom while Lyle smiled back at them and blew kisses. A photographer was on hand to take pictures. The next day, Lyle was famous. The telephone rang continually, and bundles of mail are dropped by the door. One letter was from someone Lyle knew particularly well. Mr. Prim read it. Just a few words to say. "I shall return. Cordially, Hector P. Valenti, star of stage and screen. P.S. Very soon. P.P.S. To fetch my crocodile." Several days later, Mrs. Prim and Lyle were in the kitchen shelling peas when they heard knocking at the door. It was Hector P. Valenti, star of stage and screen. "I have come for Lyle," announced Signer Valenti. "You can't have Lyle," cried Mrs. Prim. "He is very happy living here, and he loves his dolly." "Lyle must be returned to me," insisted Signer Valenti. "Was it not I who raised him from young crocodilehood? Was it not I who taught him his bell tricks? We have appeared together on stage the world over. But why then did you leave him alone in a strange house? Asked Mrs. Prim. Because, answered Silent Valenti, I could no longer afford to pay for his Turkish caviar, but now Lion is famous and wishes be very rich. Mrs. Prim was saddened, but she knew Lion probably belonged to Silent Valenti, and she had to let him go. It was a tearful parting for everyone. Lionel Valenti had a big plans for Lyle. They traveled far and wide, stayed in many hotels, where sometimes tubs were too big and other times too small or too crowded. Lionel Valenti did what he could to call back a smile from Lyle. He tried making funny faces at him. He stood on his head, he tickled his toe, and told him outrageous stories that in happier days would have Lyle doubled over with laughter. But Lyle could not laugh, nor could he make people laugh. He made them cry instead. One night in Paris, he made an entire audience cry. The theater manager was furious and ordered them off his stage. Meanwhile, at the house on East 88th Street, Mrs. Prim went about her work without her usual bright smile, and deep sighs could be heard coming from behind the newspaper Mr. Prim was reading. Every morning, Joshua anxiously awaited the arrival of mailman in hope of receiving word from Lyle. One morning a letter did come. He knew the handwriting very well. Just a few words to say, "We shall return. Cordially, Hector P. Valenti, former star of stage and screen. P.S. I am sick of crocodiles. P.P.S. And the tears of crocodiles." Not too many days after, the Prims are delighted to find Hector P. Valenti and Lyle at their door. "Here, take him back," says Silent Valenti. "He's no good. He will never make anyone laugh again." But Silent Valenti was very much mistaken. Everyone laughed and laughed and laughed. And in the end so did Silent Valenti. So now if you should happen to be walking past the house on East 88th Street, and if you should happen to hear sounds that go swish, splash, swash, splash, swash, don't be surprised. It's only Lyle, Lyle the crocodile. The end.